The snow was still falling when I turned into the long winding driveway that led up to my family's house. The headlights of my car sliced through the blizzard, illuminating the old birch trees lining the path. Each flake of snow seemed to glitter like glass under the lights, fragile and cold, just like the memories I tried so hard to forget. It had been 3 years since I last set foot here. 3 years since my brother Ryan had called me selfish. Since my mother told me I ruined everything. Since the silence between us had stretched so wide that even the holidays couldn't bridge it. But this year something in me, loneliness, nostalgia, or maybe just the ache of unfinished wounds, made me drive back home for New Year's Eve. I told myself I was ready, that I didn't care if Ryan still resented me, that Mom's judgmental sighs wouldn't crush me this time. But as I saw the house appear through the snowfall, warm light spilling from the windows, laughter muffled behind thick walls, I felt like an outsider again, like a ghost haunting a place I once belonged. The car tires crunched to a stop, and I sat there for a moment, hands gripping the steering wheel. My reflection stared back at me from the rearview mirror, eyes ringed with exhaustion, a hesitant smile that didn't reach them. I forced myself to get out before I could change my mind. The air was sharp and cold enough to sting my lungs. I adjusted my coat, grabbed the bottle of wine I brought as a peace offering, and walked toward the front porch. Through the frosted window I could see silhouettes moving. Ryan's tall frame, Mom's silver hair. A woman's laughter that made my stomach tighten with something unnameable. I took a breath and rang the bell. For a few seconds no one came. Then the door opened and there he was. Ryan. My older brother looked almost exactly the same except older, harder. His jaw was clenched, his expression unreadable. Behind him, the sound of music drifted through the house, the low hum of conversation and clinking glasses. When his eyes landed on me, there was a flicker, recognition, then tension, then something else. He didn't smile, didn't step aside. Instead he said, quietly but firmly, "This year's only for real family." The words hit me like a slap. I blinked, unsure if I'd heard him right. What? My voice cracked, the single word escaping in a breath of white fog. Ryan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Mom didn't tell you? We're keeping it small this year. Just close family." I stared at him. "I am close family." He didn't move. "You know what I mean." A silence stretched between us, cold and brittle. The wind howled softly behind me, swirling snow around my boots. I wanted to say something, anything, but my throat felt dry. Behind him I caught a glimpse of movement. A woman standing near the kitchen doorway, holding a glass of champagne. She was beautiful, tall, with sleek dark hair and a red dress that shimmered in the light. She smiled faintly at Ryan before her gaze flicked to me, curious, almost assessing. I hadn't seen her before. Ryan followed my gaze and shifted slightly, blocking her from view. "You should go, Emma," he said. "This isn't a good time." He started to close the door. That's when something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the years of swallowing my pride, the endless guilt trips, the way everyone always treated me like I was the problem. I shoved my foot against the door before it could close. "Not a good time." My voice rose, trembling with disbelief. "It's New Year's Eve, Ryan. I drove 6 hours to get here. You can't just, pretend I don't exist." His jaw tightened. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" I demanded. Because from where I'm standing it feels exactly like that. The tension was thick enough to choke on. The woman behind him stepped closer now, and I saw the hesitation in her eyes, the kind people have when they realize they've stepped into someone else's family drama. Ryan exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Fine. Just come in. But don't make this a scene." I wanted to throw the wine bottle at him. Instead I forced a tight smile and stepped inside. The warmth of the house hit me instantly, the smell of pine and cinnamon, the faint scent of perfume and champagne. A dozen familiar details assaulted me all at once. The old family photos on the wall, the scratch on the banister from when Ryan and I used to race up the stairs as kids, the flickering lights strung unevenly across the living room. For a moment it felt like nothing had changed. Then I noticed who wasn't there. No dad, obviously. He'd passed away 5 years ago. But where were the cousins? The neighbors who always dropped by? The place felt intimate, private. There were maybe 6 people total. Ryan, Mom, the woman in the red dress, and a few unfamiliar faces who turned to look at me with polite confusion. Mom appeared from the kitchen, her eyes lighting up before dimming almost instantly. "Emma." Her tone was careful, measured, as if saying my name might trigger something unpredictable. "You're here." "Yeah," I said softly. "Surprise." She exchanged a quick look with Ryan before walking over to hug me. Her embrace was brief, distant. "You look tired, sweetheart." "Rough trip." "Just long," I murmured. "But worth it." Ryan's jaw twitched again at that. He moved to refill his glass, avoiding my gaze. The woman in the red dress lingered nearby, her smile polite but guarded. "So," I said, setting the wine bottle on the counter, "who's your guest?" Ryan froze for half a second before replying. "This is Mia," he said. "My fiancée." The word hit me like an echo. Fiancé. I turned to her, trying to mask my shock. "Congratulations," I managed, forcing a smile. "When did this happen?" "A few months ago," Mia said softly, glancing at Ryan. "It's still pretty new." Something about her tone, gentle, almost apologetic, made my stomach twist. There was something she wasn't saying. Something in the way Ryan avoided looking at either of us. Mom cleared her throat. "Dinner's almost ready. Emma, why don't you make yourself comfortable?" I nodded, but my thoughts were spinning. Ryan was engaged. He hadn't called. Hadn't written. Hadn't told me. And the woman he was marrying looked eerily familiar, though I couldn't place her yet. I sat on the edge of the couch, pretending to admire the Christmas tree while my mind replayed his words. This year's only for real family. He had meant it. He hadn't wanted me here. And judging by the awkward silence in the room, no one else had either. When I finally looked up, my eyes landed on a photo hanging near the fireplace. It was new. A picture of Ryan and Mia at the lake house. The same lake house where my breath caught. The same lake house where I had found my fiancé's car parked 2 years ago. The same night he told me he was working late. The same night everything in me broke. My gaze snapped to Mia. She saw it in my face. Her smile faltered, her fingers tightening around her glass. Recognition flickered between us like a lit fuse. Ryan was still talking, oblivious, pouring drinks for the guests. Mom was laughing softly at something someone said. But the air between Mia and me was electric, dangerous. Because I finally remembered where I'd seen her before. She was the woman who had answered my fiancé's phone. The voice that had whispered, "He's busy right now." The woman who had destroyed my life. And now she was my brother's fiancé. For the rest of that evening I barely breathed. Every sound, the crackle of the fireplace, the soft pop of champagne corks, even the slow ticking of the grandfather clock, seemed unnaturally loud. Time moved like honey, thick and slow, while I sat there trying to mask the trembling that had begun somewhere deep in my chest. Mia moved easily through the room, smiling when spoken to, touching Ryan's arm when he poured her another glass. On the surface she was perfect. But every gesture, every flicker of her eyes felt sharpened against me. There was a flicker of fear in her gaze sometimes, subtle but real. She knew who I was. I was sure of it. I wanted to scream, "You ruined me." But all I could do was smile, nod, and pretend I wasn't drowning in old memories. 2 years ago, on a stormy spring night, I'd driven to the lake house to surprise my fiancé Adam. He'd said he was working late, finishing a client proposal. I'd even packed his favorite meal. When I got there, his car was in the driveway, and the windows glowed with warm light. But when I walked up to the door and knocked, it wasn't Adam who answered. It was her. Mia. She'd looked startled at first, standing there in a silk robe, damp hair clinging to her neck. Then her expression shifted, composed, almost smug. She tilted her head and said, "He's busy right now." That single sentence had sliced through me. I turned and left before Adam even came to the door. I couldn't face him. Later that night he called, begging to explain, saying it wasn't what it looked like. I never found out what story he was going to tell because I never answered again. He left town a month later. And now she was here. In my family's living room. Wearing a diamond ring from my brother. The world spun cruelly sometimes. "Emma, would you pass the salad?" Mom's voice jolted me back to the present. I forced a nod, my hands shaking slightly as I handed her the bowl. My brother was watching me now, eyes narrowed just enough to show suspicion. "You okay?" he asked quietly. Fine, I lied. Just tired from the drive. Mia's lips curved into that polite, empty smile. It's a long drive, isn't it? From Chicago. The way she said the city, soft, deliberate, made my stomach twist. She remembered. She was taunting me. Yes, I said, matching her tone. But worth it. Family's important, right? Ryan's gaze flickered between us, uneasy. So, how's work? He asked quickly, trying to cut the tension. It's good, I said. Busy. I was just promoted last month. That's great, Mia said, her voice smooth. Adam always said you were ambitious. The sound of his name hit me like a slap. My fork froze midair. For a second I thought I'd misheard her. But then I saw the glint in her eyes, the satisfaction of someone who knew exactly which nerve to strike. Ryan frowned. Adam. Mia's expression flickered, but she recovered fast. Oh, sorry. I meant her old coworker, right? The lie was almost believable. Almost. I forced a smile so tight it hurt. Yes, I said softly. An old coworker. The table fell silent for a few seconds. Even Mom glanced between us with faint confusion. But no one pushed it further. They didn't know the history, the betrayal, the sleepless nights, the endless wondering. They didn't know that Mia had been the final thread that snapped what was left of my faith in love. After dinner, everyone drifted into the living room for dessert and champagne. The house filled with soft music and laughter, the kind of easy joy that used to make me feel at home. But I felt like a ghost moving through the past, unseen and unwelcome. I slipped away to the hallway, pretending to look for the restroom. My hands were clammy as I reached for the edge of a framed photo on the wall. A new one. Ryan and Mia again, smiling in front of that same lake house. My breath caught in my throat. I turned it over. On the back, someone had written in blue ink, "Our beginning." My stomach turned. Beautiful, isn't it? Her voice came from behind me, soft like velvet over glass. I turned, heart pounding. Mia stood there, her red dress glowing in the dim light, her champagne glass half full. Yeah, I said quietly. Beautiful. She took a slow sip, studying me. I didn't think you'd come tonight. You remember me, I said. Not a question. Her lips curved slightly. Of course I do. I took a step closer. Does Ryan know? She tilted her head. Know what? I stared at her, fighting to keep my voice even. That you were seeing Adam while he was still engaged to me. Her smile didn't falter, but her eyes darkened. You really want to drag that up now? 2 years later? You left him, didn't you? I left because you were sleeping with him, I said, my voice trembling. Her tone dropped low and sharp. No, you left because you couldn't handle the truth. Adam didn't love you anymore. He told me. The hallway seemed to shrink around us. I wanted to hit her, to scream, to do something, but I just stood there trembling. You don't get to rewrite what happened, I whispered. You broke something in me that night. Mia stepped closer, her perfume wrapping around me like poison. Then maybe you should thank me, she said softly. Because now you know what real love looks like. I almost laughed. Real love. I spat. With my brother? Her gaze flickered, and for a second I saw something, fear, maybe guilt. But it vanished quickly. Ryan doesn't need to know about that, she said. It would only hurt him. And you've done enough of that already. The words hit hard, deliberate. She wanted me silent. I wonder what he'd think, I said, stepping forward, lowering my voice. If he knew you were the reason his sister spent months in therapy. If he knew you ruined my engagement. Her expression hardened. You won't tell him. Won't I? You always wanted to be the victim, she said coldly. Maybe because it's easier than facing that you weren't enough for him. Something inside me cracked. The calm, rational part of me dissolved. You don't get to say that to me. Then don't make me, she said softly. You've already lost one man. Do you really want to lose your brother too? For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The music from the living room drifted faintly through the walls, something slow and nostalgic. I could hear laughter, glasses clinking, the countdown beginning. Mia set her glass down on the console table. You'll ruin everything if you say a word, she whispered. Ryan's happy. Don't take that from him. Then she turned and walked away, heels clicking on the hardwood floor. I stood there shaking, staring at the photo in my hand. My reflection shimmered faintly on the glass. a woman caught between rage and despair. I thought about the years I'd spent rebuilding myself, the hours of therapy, the promises to let go. But standing in that hallway, surrounded by laughter and lies, I realized something dark and undeniable. Forgiveness was never my strength. And this time I wasn't walking away. Midnight was creeping closer. The countdown laughter from the living room echoed faintly down the hallway, but I barely heard it. My pulse was a drumbeat in my ears. My palms were slick with sweat. Every nerve in my body felt wired, like a live current buzzing beneath my skin. Mia's words replayed over and over, soft, venomous, unforgivable. You've already lost one man. Do you really want to lose your brother too? She thought she could manipulate me into silence. That I would crumble again like the last time. But this time was different. This time I wasn't the one who'd be destroyed. I took a shaky breath, forcing myself to move. I needed proof before I said anything, something Ryan couldn't ignore. Something that would cut through the charm she'd wrapped him in. In the kitchen, empty champagne flutes lined the counter. My mother's voice floated from the living room, cheerful and oblivious. I slipped my phone from my purse and opened the camera quietly. My hands were trembling, but I steadied them against the counter. I turned toward the hallway where Mia had gone. A few minutes later I followed. The door to Ryan's study was half closed. I heard muffled voices, hers low and tense, his confused. I told you she'd show up, Mia said sharply. She's trying to ruin this, Ryan. She's always been jealous. Jealous, he repeated. She's my sister. You don't know her like I do, Mia said. She plays the victim. Always. It's how she gets attention. The familiar words hit like shards of glass. I pressed record. Ryan sighed. Mia, this isn't helping. There was the faint sound of movement, a hand brushing fabric. Then her voice softened. I'm sorry. I just don't want her to hurt you. I peeked through the crack in the door. She was standing close to him, too close, her hand resting against his chest. His eyes were weary, uncertain. I almost couldn't breathe. You trust me, don't you? She whispered. He hesitated. Of course I do. She smiled and leaned in to kiss him. My stomach turned. It was almost identical to the moment I'd once witnessed at the lake house. The same gentle manipulation, the same quiet seduction wrapped in guilt. I stepped back, careful not to make a sound, recording every word, every gesture. Then I slipped away before she could see me. Back in the guest room, I shut the door and leaned against it, shaking. The phone trembled in my hands. I replayed the clip. It wasn't much, but her tone, her words, her proximity told a story. One I knew Ryan couldn't ignore once he heard it. Still, a part of me hesitated. He'd always been the golden one. Steady, responsible, the one who stayed when I couldn't. The thought of breaking his heart twisted something inside me. But that woman was about to marry him while lying about everything. I looked at the window. Outside, the snow was falling harder now, coating the trees in white. The reflection of my face stared back at me in the glass. Eyes dark, mouth set. I didn't look like the girl who'd once begged for love or forgiveness. I looked like someone who'd learned what vengeance cost and was willing to pay it. The door creaked open behind me. I turned quickly, heart hammering. Ryan stood there, holding 2 glasses of champagne. His expression was softer now, tired but kind. You disappeared, he said. Thought you might need a refill. I forced a smile. Thanks. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The air between us was thick with things unsaid. You okay? He asked again, quieter this time. I hesitated. Why didn't you tell me you were engaged? He looked down at his glass. Honestly? Because I didn't think you'd come if you knew. You're probably right. He sighed. You and I, we haven't exactly been close, Em. Things got messy after Dad died. And after everything with Adam. My chest tightened. You mean after your fiancé's boyfriend? His brow furrowed. What? The words had slipped out before I could stop them. I froze, trying to steady my voice. I mean, Adam. You didn't like him. Yeah, because he broke you, Ryan said. I never understood what you saw in him. There was no anger in his tone, just weary frustration. I wanted to tell him everything right then, to hand him the truth like a weapon. But something inside me said not yet. I needed him to see her for who she really was, not just hear it from me. I'm glad you're happy, I said finally. He smiled faintly. I am. I really am, Em. Mia's good for me. She gets me. My stomach turned at the words. She gets me. That's what Adam used to say about her. I swallowed hard. You deserve someone who does. We drank in silence. Outside, fireworks began to pop faintly in the distance. The countdown was starting. Ryan set his glass down and gave me a small, awkward hug. Let's go back in, he said. It's almost midnight. I nodded, following him down the hall. The living room was glowing now, filled with the soft light of candles and laughter. Everyone had gathered near the big window that overlooked the snowy yard. Mom was smiling. Mia was standing beside Ryan's empty spot, her arm looped through the air as if waiting for him. When she saw us walking together, her smile faltered. 10. The room began to count down. 9. I slipped my phone into my pocket, heart racing. 8. Ryan moved beside Mia. She reached for his hand. 7. I stepped forward, close enough to see the reflection of the firelight in her eyes. 6. Her hand trembled just slightly when she saw me watching her. 5. Everything okay? Mom asked, glancing between us. 4. Perfect, I said softly, my voice steady. 3. Mia's eyes darted to mine, pleading now, almost terrified. 2. She knew I had something. 1. The room erupted with shouts of Happy New Year, and the sound of popping corks. Champagne spilled. Laughter filled the air. Fireworks exploded outside. And right then, as Ryan leaned in to kiss his fiancée, I pulled my phone from my pocket, hit play, and turned up the volume. Her voice filled the room. You trust me, don't you? The laughter died. The music kept playing softly, but the room had gone completely still. Ryan froze mid-motion. The recording continued. You don't know her like I do. She plays the victim. It's how she gets attention. Ryan's face went pale. The color drained from Mia's completely. I held the phone steady, meeting her eyes. Happy New Year, I whispered. Mia's glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the floor. The glass shattered, echoing like a gunshot. No one moved. The only sound left in the room was the faint crackle of the fireplace and the muted whisper of wind against the windows. Even the fireworks outside seemed to have gone quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Mia stood frozen, fragments of crystal scattered at her feet, champagne spreading like spilled sunlight across the rug. Ryan's face was white, his expression torn somewhere between confusion and disbelief. What was that? Mom whispered. I didn't answer. The recording kept playing, every word slicing through the room like a blade. You trust me, don't you? Of course I do. You don't know her like I do. She plays the victim. It's how she gets attention. Then the soft sound of her voice dropping lower, intimate, calculated. You don't need to worry about her. She's already ruined enough. The recording ended. Silence filled the space it left behind. Ryan looked at me, eyes wide. What the hell was that? I stared at Mia. You tell him. Her lips parted. Ryan, it's not. Tell him, I repeated. She swallowed hard, stepping back. Her hands trembled slightly as she looked between us. It's not what it sounds like. Then what is it? He snapped. His voice was still calm on the surface, but I could hear the crack beneath it. Because it sounds like you've been lying about my sister. Her gaze darted toward me, pleading, desperate. She's twisting things. Ryan, she's doing this to hurt me. She's never liked me. Don't do that, I said quietly. Don't you dare twist this. I took a step forward, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. You want to talk about lies? Let's start with the lake house. Her breath caught audibly. Stop. Ryan frowned. What lake house? The one where I found my fiancé's car 2 years ago, I said. The night he said he was working late. The night she answered his phone. Mom gasped softly, her hand flying to her mouth. Ryan blinked, stunned. You're saying? She was the other woman, I said, my voice shaking but clear. The one who destroyed my engagement. And now she's your fiancé. Mia's face crumpled. It wasn't like that. Then tell him how it was, I said, stepping closer. Tell him how you stood in that doorway wearing his shirt. Tell him how you said, he's busy right now. Tears filled her eyes. Ryan, please. He stepped back, shaking his head. Is that true? She tried to touch him, but he moved away. It was before you and I, before I even met you, she cried. It doesn't matter now. I love you. But you knew, he said softly. You knew she was my sister. Her silence was answer enough. For a long, terrible moment, no one spoke. The tension in the air was unbearable. Finally, Ryan turned toward me. You knew about this tonight? I nodded. I didn't come here to ruin your night, Ryan. I came here because I wanted to make peace. But when I saw her, when I realized who she was, my voice broke. I couldn't let you walk into the same lie that destroyed me. He looked away, his shoulders tense. The anger that began to build wasn't wild. It was quiet, cold, controlled. You should go, he said finally, voice barely above a whisper. Mia blinked. What? You should go, he repeated louder this time. Now. Her tears spilled freely. Ryan, please don't do this. It's New Year's. We can fix this. He shook his head. You lied to me. About everything. I didn't lie about loving you, she whispered. He turned away, unable to look at her. Get out. The words were final. Mia hesitated for only a moment before grabbing her purse and walking toward the door. When she passed me, she stopped. Her eyes were red, wild, furious. You think you've won, she hissed softly. But you'll always be alone. That's your punishment. I didn't flinch. At least I don't lie to the people I love. She held my gaze for a long second, then walked out into the snow. The door closed behind her with a hollow sound. The house seemed to exhale, the silence heavy and raw. Mom sat down on the couch, eyes glistening. Emma, why didn't you tell us sooner? I looked down at my hands. Because I thought I was over it. I wanted to believe I could move on. But seeing her with him, it was like watching a nightmare repeat itself. Ryan didn't say anything. He stood by the window, staring out into the dark. The fireworks were starting again, bright bursts of color exploding in the night sky. His reflection flickered in the glass, still, silent, broken. After a moment, he said quietly, You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. I shook my head. No. I just told the truth. He turned, and for the first time that night, there was something soft in his expression. That's more than most people do. The three of us sat in silence, the glow of the fire dancing across our faces. For the first time in years, the house didn't feel hostile. It didn't feel like a place full of ghosts and grudges. It just felt empty, but in a clean way. Like something rotten had finally been cut away. Mom poured herself a drink and handed me one. To new beginnings, she said softly. Ryan lifted his glass. To real family. I smiled faintly. Real family. Outside, the fireworks lit up the sky in 1,000 colors, but for once I didn't feel the need to watch them. I felt calm. Grounded. The ache that had lived inside me for years, the anger, the shame, the grief, it didn't disappear, but it finally made sense. Some betrayals never stop hurting. But some truths once spoken make space for healing. As the snow kept falling, I looked toward the door where Mia had vanished and whispered to myself, Happy New Year. And this time I meant it.